Hello and welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I'm James Currie with the Communication Department. I'm talking to Stephen Schottgen. He is a behavioral health provider with Family Health. Stephen, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Today's topic, I've got it written down here, it's kind of long. Techniques to reduce stress, anxiety, depression, and suicide directly related to COVID. So, Stephen, can you give us a little insight on that?
Well, yes, it's there's been an increase in pretty much all of those because of the COVID outbreak and being isolated, kept away from the ones that we love and care for, and also the new dynamic with work. And we being social animals, we like human contact, and we're not getting that. We're also not getting outside as much as we should, so we are isolating ourselves, which naturally brings up uh, levels of depression, anxiety, and we start engaging in habits that probably not the healthiest.
Do you think the isolation is maybe making people a little bit more agitated and aggressive?
Pretty much. Imagine being locked in with your family and not being able to leave
Yeah,
since
uh,
March.
yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Um, so you said not getting out much. You know, it's starting to get winter. So do you have some recommendations of what people might be able to do to overcome that part?
Well, first off, in the house, when we wake up, sleep is key. So the first thing we need to do when we wake up is get sunlight in the house. That sets our circadian rhythm so that we know that, hey, it's time to get up, it's time to get moving. So when we establish the schedules, it means we sleep better because after a set amount of time, our body should naturally tell itself, hey, it's dark, it's time for us to start sleeping. And that's all part of sleep hygiene. It's a fancy way of saying preparing your body to go to bed and sleep in a regular schedule.
Excuse me. It seems like everything that we're talking about all goes hand in hand. Not getting enough sleep creates its own problems, but then you have the compounded problems of isolation, COVID, um, lack of mobility, I guess things that people normally would have done during the summer, like go to movies, go to concerts, picnics, bike rides, walks,
To the beach,
yeah, to the
some people
beach.
do the
Yeah.
Halloween or the trick or treating, trunk or treating, church, which is a big social outlet for a lot of people. We just don't have that contact. So,
So all right. So we were talking about getting some light in the house to kind of reset your body. What else?
okay, diet is also one of those tricky things because when we isolate, we have that free time. It's real easy to just kind of pop in the kitchen, grab something that maybe was a treat before and now becomes a staple. So we start altering our chemistry and our patterns to include more sugar, more carbohydrates, and probably less fresh vegetables because we don't go to the store as much. So that can be an issue. Sound mind, sound body. So if the body's not feeling as good as it can, our mind follows, and vice versa. And of
You
course,
know,
exercise.
yeah.
Um, Exercise is key to mental and physical health, and a lot of us don't feel comfortable going to the gym like we used to. So how do we adapt to our surroundings? You can do exercises inside, you can do them in the yard. Now that it's getting cooler, it's, at least for me, it's easier to wake up and go outside when it's not, you know, 90 degrees at 8 a.m. and at least, walk around, even if it's just in the backyard.
Yeah, getting around and moving, that, that couch to 5K kind of mentality. Yeah, you definitely need to get out. You were talking about food. Yeah, I've been doubling up on my bags of smart food lately. So I know the feeling about that comfort food. Um, Now you
Absolutely.
also, yeah, so I mean, that's probably happening for a lot of people. Like something that was a once in a while type of treat, like you mentioned. Now it's like, hey, I won't be going to the store for another 14 days, so you know, time
Just
to
load up on, snack food because it's
Netflix
not as
and
expensive.
yeah,
It's easy.
yeah, Netflix and smart food for me.
Absolutely.
So
But
yeah,
long term, it has its negative effects.
yeah, absolutely. Now you also meet with people, counsel them. Um, what kind of in general issues have people been having related to COVID? If there's anything that we haven't mentioned yet.
Well, there's the increase in anxiety, increase in depression, seeing a lot of grief and loss, and that's due to family members, friends, loved ones getting sick, being in the hospital, and not being able to see somebody else, not being able to go in and visit with that loved one. So there's that isolation. So that even when the person comes out of the hospital and is healthy, at least physically, they still can have some of those residual effects of that forced isolation. Because if you think about it, you're in the hospital under the current conditions, you really don't see anybody's face. They either got face masks on, face shields, so you hear these voices, but you don't exactly know who you're talking to. So there can be some residual traumatic emotions that come up from being in the hospital, as well as having relatives in the hospital or friends.
Do you think that I mean, everything that you mentioned, those are normal feelings that we have: sadness, grief, depression from time to time. Do you think that all of those feelings have been heightened and accelerated because of COVID?
Absolutely, because it's the perfect storm. If we have those underlying feelings anyway, even however mild, when something like this, which is traumatic, right, because it alters the way we interact with the world and the way the world interacts with us, we change, which means our body chemistry and our brain chemistry can change. And so a lot of the underlying factors can come to the front.
You
Increase
said,
in,
yeah, you said, stuck in the house with your family. Um, Do you think that this is also affecting relationships, that it's, having some short-term and long-term effects on, okay, well, you're stuck in the house with your husband or your wife and your kids. Can you touch a little bit on that? Because I think that it is.
oh, absolutely. When we have more time with those that we love and we're not away for at least 8 hours a day, we tend to say things that we mean in the moment that we can't unsay. And so that can cause some tension. It gives us time to talk and bring up things from the past and go through some unresolved issues, and maybe not in the healthiest of ways. That makes any sense?
Hmm.
Which, again, that increases the anxiety. So there's a lot more tension now than there was, say, before. So everything seems to be accentuated, because if they were there and say, yeah, well, that's fine, I'm going to work, or I'm going off to do this or that, now you have time to sit there and basically ruminate on things. So free time is not always conducive to healthy relationships.
We always tend to hurt the ones that we love the most.
Sometimes, yeah, quite a bit. Uh, and
So
that's
what?
something
Yeah.
that we work on here is more positive communication techniques, better ways to say things. And to be honest with you, I get a lot of people in here that just need somebody to talk to that's not family, because we're objective, we're non-judgmental.
Mhm.
The only thing that we hope for here is that the person's life gets a little bit better.
So yeah, you're striving. Your main goal is a positive outcome for someone to be their best self.
Absolutely, both physically and mentally.
Well, Stephen, I'd like to have you on Wellness Wednesday again so we can dive into some of these other specifics. Can you tell everybody watching Wellness Wednesday how they can get in touch with you? I know that there's a lot of, like you mentioned, a lot of people they just need to talk. They need to get this stress off of them. Can you give your contact information, please?
Sure. In fact, my direct line is 251 690 8193. And if I can't help you, usually I can direct you in the best direction to either get an appointment with one of our doctors, or I can schedule with either myself or another behavioral health provider, and we'll do everything we can to help and make sure that your overall health is as good as it can be. Excuse me.
Well, I appreciate your time and I appreciate your insight on these subjects. So let's plan on another Wellness Wednesday where we can go into these nuances further. COVID's not going away anytime soon, and neither are these issues that are affecting a lot of people. So your number again, please.
Is 251 690 8193. Oh, and I should mention, um, right now the only other language that we offer counseling and therapy in is Spanish, but we do have a Spanish therapist,
Okay.
so
And we
Spanish speaking therapist.
and we do have a language line that we can use. So with
Absolutely.
interpreters. So it may take a little bit longer, but um, that's still a barrier that we can remove for language. So let's not let that be a factor either. Stephen,
Absolutely.
thank you again for your time, and we will have you on again Wellness Wednesday here before the end of the year.
All right.
So I'd like to thank Stephen again for being on Wellness Wednesday, and I'm James Currie with the Communications Department. Thank you all for watching Wellness Wednesday. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.